One.
All right. Good morning, guys. Welcome to today's episode of Market Check. It is June 12th, 2023. I am Tommy, also known as Snorlax, joined by Max, Tucker, and Will. Going to be bringing you guys coverage on everything that we see in the crypto markets as well as equities. Equities are very active right now. It's a stock picker's environment. Looking for small and mid caps that can outperform great charts. People who will degen options or really understand how to play options on plays like that are absolutely eating. Um, like I said, stock pickers market as well, absolutely eating. I know we have Will's Outlook with us today. He's called a ton of killer plays this year on some equity, small and mid caps. It's a complete stark difference to what the crypto market is doing, however, where you have small and mid caps that have just been brutalized over the last week. And one of the things that we talked about on Friday was Bitcoin dominance. It saw a 2% move on Friday night. And, some of these altcoins, some of your favorite altcoins in an hourly candle went down 25, 30% in one candle, one hourly candle. So just very reflective of how thin the conditions are in the books right now. Binance US, essentially no longer providing service to Americans at this point. I mean, it's a crypto only exchange, I guess. So you can't use it as a fiat on and off ramp. That was big for the altcoin market as far as market making and providing liquidity. And you saw alts completely take a hit on Friday. They bled. Some alts, bled throughout the weekend, gave a little bit of a relief bounce yesterday. We'll see what they do this week. But when we were talking about Bitcoin dominance, we don't think it's going to stop at 49 or 50. This is a breakout that we've kind of been talking about 3 or 4 months in the making. And this is potentially a breakout of a 2 year or 2.5 year range on Bitcoin dominance. It's unlikely, in my opinion, that we're just going to deviate the highs again without, substantial move higher. And especially, when you look at total three, which it's going to try to carve out a double bottom here. But and I'm sure we're going to debate this on the show later today. But to me, that momentum looks pretty strong to the downside, and it lines up with Bitcoin dominance, which if it does go to 55 or even 60%, you have to imagine that some of these altcoin markets are really going to be feeling some pain. So, that's really what I feel like is the primary talking point within crypto as far as price action goes. It's largely driven by the regulatory uncertainty. Binance, Coinbase, it's a very treacherous market to be, as a buyer right now. You're probably going to look back on these prices in a few years and be really happy. But, with all this FUD and all this negative price action, it will be a little bit difficult. And I say that looking back on prices, specifically on Bitcoin and Ethereum, because I think a lot of these altcoins, still have a long way to go, and I'm not sure they'll come back. But Bitcoin and ETH, if that's your game, then you will probably look back on these prices in a few years and laugh about it. But that's enough rambling for me. Still funny and interesting to see this discrepancy between crypto market and equities. I'm going to pass it over to Max. Max, what's your take on the difference between crypto and equities right now, as well as just the complete altcoin carnage that we had on Friday night?
Yeah. I don't have a ton of thoughts on equities right now. My only thought with equities at this very moment is that I'm going to wait to do any positioning until at least after we get the CPI print. Ideally, I'd be able to position like right after FOMC. My gut's telling me that we're probably due for some sort of like whipsaw or maybe correction. But ultimately, I think we could probably trend higher if history indicates anything and tells the story. Um, it's probably going to drift north if we get the pause, which again has been priced in at about 70% likelihood for almost over a month now. So I think we're going to get that pause on Wednesday, and again, history is any indication, whenever we get that pause, risk can perform pretty well, at least for a small window of time. And I anticipate that we will. I mean, just from like a structural perspective, it looks really, really obvious to me. Like we should come back and retest like 4,200, give or take. And then from there, I think that's sort of your must hold area. Like if you come back to 4,200 and you don't hold it, then I think you welcome significantly lower prices. But as long as we don't have any sort of like material shift on like our high time frame economic outlook, which in the short term, I don't know what that would be unless some of these interest rates begin to really work their way through the pipes of our economy quicker than anticipated. I know that they're lagging, but the question is, when do they start to be digested? I think we probably just continue to move up with little pullbacks along the way, and every pullback, the Bears will probably just be like, "Yep, it's completely over. Look, that was the top." Like they'll point to some like crowded trade or some piece of data and be like, "Yep, like recession's guaranteed." And I think they are right. I think the recession is guaranteed. I just think that it's not going to happen till like the very, very end of this year, early next year at this point. So my bias is still up, but definitely waiting to position until after CPI and FOMC. With crypto, I mean, look, I think we're in this phase right now where people are going to begin to brag about buying the dip on their favorite altcoins. And I think they're going to be like, "Oh, you didn't buy like, the Solana dip to $12 and you didn't buy like ADA below the FTX lows." And like in the short term, maybe it will work. I mean, very short term. But I think what's probably about to happen is they're about to capitulate another 30 to 60%. And there's this fallacy that I think a lot of people that are a little bit newer to the crypto space, that truly that they haven't gotten their teeth kicked in by altcoins yet. I think there's this fallacy, or maybe it's more of like it's this undeserving sense of insulation because they believe in these projects and they've seen strength at times. But I think a lot of people are looking at it going, "Oh, my favorite altcoin that I rode during the bull market, or that my favorite influencer is backing is down 90% from the all-time high. What an awesome opportunity!" But again, the fallacy there is they don't realize that it can still go down another 90% or 100% for that much. So I'm not convinced that like this altcoin reckoning is over. I think that there needs to be an additional like further altcoin capitulation. I think we're going to get it. We're starting to see signs of Bitcoin dominance breaking out. We're also starting to see like total 2 divided by Bitcoin starting to break down, which total 2 is just everything other than Bitcoin, divided by or denominated in Bitcoin as a ratio of Bitcoin. And we're starting to see weakness across the board. I think total 3 is probably going to go sub 250 billion market cap. I don't see any reason to be bullish on alts. There's not any buy side demand. I mean, there's just simply no demand. There's a lack of liquidity. You've got really, really heavy ask side books right now, basically trying to unload into, I mean, talk about imbalance. There is nobody with size trying to step in and bid these alts right now. So I think there's a really unique opportunity to set up what I would consider to be the safest trade in crypto, which would be a long-term pair trade, basically longing Bitcoin kind of as a hedge, and then just shorting like your basket of alts. You could literally throw, shotgun, randomly pull 10 out of a hat, and I think you'll probably do just fine. So those are some of my thoughts with crypto. Again, waiting on equities, very bearish on altcoins right now. But again, in the short term, what I'd be looking for is maybe like a slight relief rally or bounce just to sort of further convict those that knife caught a little bit. But ultimately, it's more so it's less about like the U.S. dollar value of these alts, and more about how I think they're going to perform against Bitcoin. So when I say we're going to capitulate in alts, what does that mean? Could Bitcoin go up and alts just stay flat? That's certainly a possibility too. I'm talking about the Bitcoin dominance trade, just to be clear. I think Bitcoin dominance is going to go 55% plus, probably closer to 60 before this is all said and done. But yeah, those are my thoughts.
Yeah, no, Max, I agree. I feel like Friday was kind of the start of what I would call a fundamental repricing event. Just kind of based on levels of liquidity present. Like I said, Binance US was a pretty big entity as far as market making for those altcoin markets. And, when you don't have as much liquidity present, and viewable within the books, like spoofing, for example, in crypto is a pretty big deal, obviously, but um, you see a little bit of repricing on those altcoins. At least that's kind of what happened. Um, we probably need to go lower to find organic demand, which is kind of crazy to say because a lot of these tokens are already in levels that we would consider to be, their support, their accumulation levels. And I know Will actually has a contrarian opinion to Max and I's take on altcoins at the moment, or at the very least, is willing to take some shots on. I know ADA was one of them. But Will, how was your weekend, man? You want to walk us through a little bit about your plan?
Yeah, I'm kind of in the accumulation phase, I would say, in a sense. I am taking some trades in some of these positions because I want to hedge further downside, which means like if I catch a trade that's, well, I won't say a trade, I'll say more of a long-term hold that X is exponentially, I will scrape some off the table just to kind of protect my position for further downside. And if I need to reaccumulate, I'll do it somewhere else if price never comes back to those prices or lower. And I think that's always the best approach. Is what I tend to try to do is I try to have an approach that makes sense in trade, which means not overexposing myself in one sector or another, and not overexposing myself to one altcoin or another, or even Bitcoin, Ethereum, all that stuff. And then some people are like, "What do you mean overexpose yourself to Bitcoin?" So I'm more of a traditionalist, so I tend to like to mix my portfolio with really high risk and really low risk. So I also do bonds, I do some stocks and so on and so forth to kind of hedge my positions in crypto. In case I take a heavy hit, I could scrape some off from one side and put it in the other. And I think that's always the best approach because usually one side, at least a lot of the time, actually, one side will perform better than the other. And if one side is performing better, what you do is you take profits on the side that's performing better and you put it in the side that's underperforming to be able to get that real performance on your portfolio. But you have to be consistently shifting liquidity between the two markets if you're looking to really optimize that position. Now, granted, a lot of the time it's not so easy for retail. If retail is only working with 1, 5, maybe even $10,000. But if you're working for anything heavier, anywhere to 40, 50, 100K, you can easily switch between markets at liquidity and be able to make money on both sides of the play here. And if you're consistently trading your portfolio, there's lots of ETFs that do it too. Like if you want that type of exposure where it's consistently trading markets, there's ETFs that do that too, also in the market that you can use on the stock market side that will try and be performance ETFs, which basically trade the market consistently to follow trend. So if it's a bearish trend, they go more defensive. If it's a bullish trend, they go more offensive, which means higher risk, and an offensive and lower risk in a defensive position. So like if you're not looking to do that actively yourself, which you will get, I think, a better optimization if you understand markets to even a portion of a degree, then you can always have an ETF do that for you on the stock market side. Unfortunately, there's not something like that in crypto, but I think crypto is, as a whole, it's all risk in a sense. Obviously, if you're wanting to weight less risk, you take in, Bitcoin. Some people would even argue Ethereum. I think as far as devs go, great. Ethereum has adoption, but as far as liquidity goes, we can argue that, right? Bitcoin to Ethereum, Bitcoin obviously has the more liquidity, so it's a safer play. You're looking to be in that space. Now, obviously, there's higher risk, right? Higher beta plays like altcoins and stuff like that. But I took the risk on ADA and a couple other ones that I had posted, I think on Friday, based on market conditions and market reactions. It was Solana, ADA, and Matic that all took a hit, and they all took a hit based on basically this Robinhood play, where basically Robinhood's looking to delist Solana, Matic, and ADA. And so I was like, okay, we're probably going to get a capitulation event by retail, right? And then if Robinhood wants out of the play, they're going to have to buy up a certain portion because they're basically stating here on the dates that they're looking to unload by June 27th, right? So they're going to have to push price up by June 27th and then sell at a higher price and then get out of the position. It'll probably recapitulate right back down to the lows, if not leak deeper. So I'm anticipating that move by Robinhood to get out at a better pricing and sell out all those positions to be able, and they're going to basically liquidate anybody who holds those positions on Robinhood, right? And that'll create a secondary capitulation event once Robinhood sells out of their positions. Now the problem is, and this is something I haven't looked into specifically, is does Robinhood hold a significant amount of these tokens? If they hold a significant amount of these tokens, that means even though we saw a lower low at these current capitulation events, and I'm expecting a bounce, we could see a lower low when they sell off if they own a lot, right? So that means we could bounce up and then go even deeper on the next move. So you have to anticipate those type of moves too, and understand, kind of what you're getting into with this scenario. So it's a potential long-term hold, but I am going to scrape some of this off on the bounce, and I'm going to reaccumulate if it goes deeper, right? Or if it double bottoms, or if it comes down to a higher low. Any of those three scenarios, I would look at reaccumulating. Obviously, you have to be able to understand when you're reaching a higher low, and you have to understand when you're reaching a double bottom. You have to understand when you're reaching a capitulation to a lower low. A lot of people don't understand how or where to identify those, but I think they're fairly easy to understand. But I'm in the same boat as you, Max. Like we've been talking about this for months now. 250 billion, basically on altcoins. I'm expecting the same thing. That's a big amount of liquidity out of the altcoin market. So you're like, what do you mean it's a big amount? At the high, when PayPay was like $1 billion market cap and all these other things were running, you were looking at 350 billion in the total three, right? Currently, we basically just double bottomed on total three, which is where I took the position too. I took the position on a double bottom, by the way. So it was a double bottom on total three. It was a bullish deviation on those three charts that Robinhood was delisting, right? So there was quite a few different indicators that I took the play up. And basically when we double bottom, we came down and we hit 292 billion. Now, here's the question you have to ask yourself, and this is the one that I'm asking myself, and this is why I took the position that I took. We're at 292 billion. Expectation is to go to 250 billion. Should I not be DCA? I'm literally 42 billion away from my target. I'm DCA, right? It makes sense from here to DCA down, to take levels and to understand where your coin is, right? You obviously don't want to be DCAing something that has, 5 million cap and has potential to go to 200,000. You don't want to DCA those type of things. You want to DCA things that actually have liquidity, right? So I'm DCAing things that have liquidity that can see pullbacks, but are not going to get annihilated, when we get to that 250, if we get to that 250. So my target was double bottom, and then after double bottom, it's 250 and so on and so forth. So I have targets on the way down that I'm going to be trying to accumulate certain coins. Again, not 5 million cap, but I'm looking for things with billions of dollars in liquidity that are obviously liquid, that can see drawdown, but won't see anywhere near what you'll get into if you get into one of these super high speculative shitcoin. Oh, excuse my language. S coins. That could end up wrecking you. Right. So yeah, I'm not looking to get into those right now. I do think there will be an opportunity to get into the super high beta speculation plays, but that will be much lower for me.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm kind of conflicted on whether this would be the type of area where you would see a double bottom and an accumulation range form, or we look at where the rally was capped this year on total three. We could make a higher high from the October high, the summer high of last year, which kind of signals to me that we don't necessarily have new money coming in to the crypto market at the moment. But that's technically when you're supposed to be looking for plays to or plays for the next bull run. Tucker, I want to get you involved in the conversation. What did you kind of think about the altcoin capitulation? And then do you have any commentary on FOMC this week as far as potential trade opportunities?
Yeah, I think it was it was like Friday night. It was like 10 or 11, and I was down at the lake with my fiance and some people, and I looked at my phone and I was like, dear God, what is happening right now? Yeah, so it kind of took me by surprise, but nonetheless, I enjoyed it for sure. But yeah, no, I've been looking at total three, and I think what Will said is valid. I think obviously if you're that close to your target, like you might as well DCA. But and I did some sprinkling of capital through some different alts, not a ton, just little starters. But I think that we're going lower on total three. Yeah, like I think we're definitely going lower on total three. And like, are we doing screen sharing? Wait, can you see my
I can get you.
chart real
Yeah,
quick,
I
Max?
can get you over there. Hang on just a second.
Yeah, just so you know too, like Haggard, like
Yeah, I need that.
part of my thesis was like we started out at the top at like nearly 1.12 trillion of total. We're now at 250. Three-quarters of the whole liquidity of
Oh no, I
the
know.
altcoin market's wrecked.
Yeah, what's it down? 70%. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know. Can you see this, Max?
Yep, you're good.
Yeah, so I like the 250 level. I've had these lines drawn here forever. I don't know exactly where I pulled them from. I think they were probably from weekly body candles back here, but something I was looking at was not Vu Manchu, but the real one. I want to see this. I want to see the oh shoot, what was I on? Maybe the weekly. Yeah. I want to see that. I want to see a nice bull div. And then what did we do? We V'd out, right? We just hit this V once we got this bull div. I want to see it again here. So what I want to see on total is like this and that, and probably hit a lower low somewhere in here. And then we can get the bounce right there. That's what I'd be looking for. If you're really trying to pick a bottom, like obviously DCAing here is totally, if you've got a multi-year outlook, like you're gonna be fine as long as you're not going into direct vaporware, right? But yeah, I wanted to go over here real quick just to talk about dominance for a second. So this is just the kind of like what you did with total and Bitcoin Max, just like a little formula for alt dominance. And like we talked about this a little while ago, but yeah, I mean it just it looks like it wants to break down. It's pretty similar to Bitcoin dominance. Like this is where looks like we're breaking out here, looks like we're gonna break down here. If we do, I think we've got, we can maybe pit stop. We can maybe pit stop on it's like another 10-12% down, but I think, like Tommy, you've alluded to, I think Bitcoin dominance probably has
Tucker, is that just inverted Bitcoin dominance that you have there? What am I looking at? Because 100 minus Bitcoin dominance.
ETH Bitcoin is basically inverted Bitcoin.
yeah. It's basically the same thing.
I'm just trying to figure out what the 100 is at the top.
I think it's just so that it does percentages. I honestly don't remember where I got this formula from. It may have been Ben Cohen like 4 years ago or something, but I honestly don't remember. But yeah, I like to, maybe it is just inverted.
Because I think that the 100 is, I think that's just like Bitcoin dominance divided by Bitcoin dominance. I don't know. I'm not really. I'd have to look.
It very well could be. It very well could be. But
now if you invert that, I think it just looks like Bitcoin dominance or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, it very well could be, Max.
I don't know. Whatever. Like I said, yeah. I slept 3 hours last night. I might be making stuff up. But yeah, sorry, you can keep going. I was just curious what I was looking at. I hadn't seen that before.
It's a fair observation. Yeah, no, but I think I just want to see the ETH capitulation, right? Like all these alts have gotten slaughtered against their Bitcoin pairs. I just want to see what, if ETH can finally start to slide, because like we've been talking about here for a long time, right? I mean, it's basically the same thing. Like ETH Bitcoin is basically inverse BTC dominance. Like I don't know. I want to see. Oh, it's on percent scale, but I want to see lower here, and that'll really be the true altcoin capitulation, altcoin reckoning, right? When the top alts ETH actually starts to slide, but I think we're that phase. So,
ETH will probably
but
be
yeah, I
the
mean
last.
that's it for alts. I want to talk. What'd you say?
ETH will probably be the last one to go as far as alts go.
Yeah, I know, which is unfortunate, honestly. I
Well,
wanted it to
you
be
can
like
make the case
ETH.
that I mean, you can make the case that the other alts have already started going.
No, for sure. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
know.
think ETH is next, truthfully.
Yeah. Um, yeah. It's kind of the same as UMax. Like ETH is like the white whale. ETH is like that one that it's just so hard to nail.
I'm telling you, I said this morning on our Discord call. I've got a bone to pick with Ethereum.
Mm.
ETH took my money this year. It's like the one name I'm down on this year, and I'm not. It's not sitting too well with me. So
You
I'll have
can't
my
tell people
day.
that though.
What's that, Will?
You can't tell people that because then they'll be like, "Oh, you just want ETH to go down, so you're just saying it," rather than they don't understand there's technicals behind it that'll actually drop ETH
Yeah.
pretty deep.
No, they can say whatever they want to say, but I'm gonna bank six figures on ETH this year, shorting it. So it is what it is.
It has to happen. It's
Yeah.
written.
No, it's
Uh,
written, man. The natural order needs to be restored. ETH owes me money, so I plan to
yeah.
collect.
The natural order. Yeah. I got to run though, guys. We'll chat again tomorrow. I'll be on. But thanks for having me.
All right,
Cool.
Doctor
Great.
Outlook. Yep.
See you, Will.
I was having a thought last week, or really over the weekend. If because I mean, I'm thinking about this strictly from a Bitcoin dominance standpoint. If we had a 2% move higher and altcoins had minus 25, minus 30% capitulatory candles, and from a market making standpoint, other than playing squeezes, I don't really see why you would take on bid side risk with a lot of these altcoins with, I mean, virtually no liquidity throughout the market. Bitcoin dominance doesn't have to go up purely through the market going lower, but I am assuming that some of it will be at least. So I wonder if there's going to be a day where you just have these altcoins that, and this is going to be the type of thing that marks a bottom, where plenty of people shorting and they just don't have enough bid side liquidity to cover into at all, simply because there are no buyers.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying it's going to be like a COVID like Bitcoin death spiral type of thing, but one of those type of events, at least mechanically speaking, where just like taking profits on shorts becomes you can't even really do it at the current price point because price has sliced so deeply into the order book. And I thought that altcoins might have put in their definitive lows in January or February, at least 2 or 3 months ago, that is. But yeah, no, given that if Bitcoin pukes at all, then it's over for those alts. If you're buying alts, you have to, I would hope and pray that Bitcoin is finding a low here, or at least very close to here, because I think altcoins, not to sound like a broken record, but I mean they are set up to get slaughtered. Yeah. No.
The issue that I'm seeing is like Bitcoin still really hasn't chosen a direction, right? So like we could still see dominance pump and alts, slide against their Bitcoin pairs, even if we pump, obviously, right? So like until Bitcoin loses like 25K or like, just captures 27.5, like gets out of this range, like I don't think we're gonna know necessarily what direction these, like, that being said, like I think alts could perform against their USD pairs if Bitcoin goes up, but still slide against, their Bitcoin pairs. But I think we're still kind of in a precarious spot where it's just like Bitcoin could puke any day and that dominance would rip. But it really hasn't made a decision yet, honestly.
My fractal has it like at the latest by the end of the month, but I think more uh like in the near term, probably I think we're probably gonna get a big move higher on dominance this week.
Can you share? Can you share your screen, Tommy?
Yeah, let me do that. I'm having my computer's freezing up, sorry.
It's all good. I just can't look at Tucker's bull fractal anymore.
Bro, tell me this doesn't look. Tell me it doesn't look like this. Like, tell me that
Okay.
this
Okay. Hang on.
this
Hang on. Bear with me now.
doesn't look like
I'm gonna direct
this.
you on where to put that fractal. Okay. Draw that same fractal, but draw it all the way from
Okay.
like where you started it, and then until like
This
maybe further left, like the very beginning of that bottom range there in
on
of 21. Yeah,
you mean
that's
over
fine.
here?
That's fine. So move that fractal now to the FTX lows. Yeah, unlock it. There you go. Move it
Like
there
down
and then
here?
make it fit. Nah, left. Like smaller.
Oh, you mean
Down,
there?
down a little bit, down a little bit. There you go. Right there. That's a way better fit.
Yeah, that is a good fit.
I got the
Yeah.
fractal loaded up for you, Max.
All right, let's take a look.
It was in the fractal, man. This move higher was the mean reversion to the fractal.
It was
The
written
5
in the
month.
fractal.
Zoom out. Let me hide my drawings. Actually, no, I need to keep them. Fractal will go away. Yeah, no, I mean, Fractal says big move on Bitcoin dominance very soon.
The fractal's correct.
I think so too. Um, and yeah, I mean, if this happens, maybe it's because you get a Bitcoin squeeze first, with alts lagging, and then when it goes lower, it just sucks everything down. Something like that would make sense to me. But all I know is Bitcoin dominance is going higher. I don't care about the direction of the market. Bitcoin dominance is going higher.
So, Tommy, let me ask you this then. If you had to pick right now, if you had to pick 5 altcoins to build a pair trade around, assuming Bitcoin dominance moves up, what are those 5 alts and why?
You want the garbage stuff that I think I think Matic for one is a very crowded trade. You know, if you position right now, or if you position too early for that, you probably hurting a little bit just because there's some mean reversion from the Robinhood sell off. I think that's still, you know, when it all said and done, I mean, Matic will probably be about a 25, 30, 35% move just from its low when it's done squeezing. So I think that's a great option. I really think near is a great one just because if you're going to have, I mean, if we're just talking about, you know, if there is a market wide sell off or just in general weakness, nobody's going to bid near over something like, I mean, even Solana, you're not going to bid near before that. I think Link is another one, even though it's at high time frame support. To me, this is the equivalent of a high time frame range breakdown. Unless you can get a reclaim, then you can make the argument it's like a proof of 3.
How dare you?
Buy it. A lot of altcoins would be set up, would be like really nice PO3 setups. If
Yeah, Tucker's a Link Marine. He takes it personally.
Yeah.
So
How dare you, Tommy?
like CRV, it's another one.
So Tommy,
Just 'cause
what one question, and my only pushback is, do you think it makes sense to look for alts that have yet to slide, or just continue to pummel the ones that have already started to slide and show weakness? Because a lot of these that you're talking about, they look like crap, but they are down, what, 30% in a week, give or take? Does that scare you at all?
No, no, because I think about when we broke down in April of 2022. I mean, altcoins, I think, went 70-80% down from those tops. ETH by itself went 60-70%. I think if Bitcoin dominance, if we're right about it being about to break out, I don't think that's going to be necessarily a Bitcoin ripping higher, even though that was kind of my bias last week. I think the books, or at least like it makes more sense, right, for a huge Bitcoin dominance move to be a move to the downside right now, just because there's not new buyers and there's not new money coming in. So I don't think if we get a big move higher on Bitcoin, that people are just going to start aping into alts. I don't know that that necessarily makes as much sense to me as Bitcoin pulling back. I mean, I don't even know how far Bitcoin would have to pull back for some of these alts to just do crazy moves to the downside. It doesn't scare me. Shorting them in January, you know, the mental process when I was walking myself through it, you know, this is an accumulation range. You know, I probably wouldn't short this alt here, but I also, you know, I wasn't buying in January, but I wouldn't be, you know, shorting those accumulation ranges on alts necessarily. Now I look at them and I think it's contextually different. You know, I think we've failed to put in a higher high on total 3. You know, a lot of these alt pairs are putting in a high time frame lower high, in my opinion, with really strong momentum to the downside. And like I said, there's just not really a ton of reason to be bidding alts right now. There's no regulatory clarity. You know, you could be buying a token that's deemed a security tomorrow. Who wants to be investing in alts? Or at the very least, I mean, it's knife catching right now. But I guess we'll see, because these are levels where we've had high time frame accumulation. If we get a deviation below the range, reclaims, then you have some really nice setups across the board. And you probably start fading Bitcoin dominance. But obviously my bias is the dominance is going to go higher. So I don't think alts are done in any capacity.
Well, I think you bring up a lot of great points. That's actually something I started off by saying, is just because your favorite altcoin is down 90% doesn't mean it won't be down another 90%. And I mean that. Like, I wasn't joking when I said that. One more question I have, and I kind of want to pick both your brains on this. And Tucker, I'm going to go over to your chart. Because for whatever reason.
Wait, which chart do you want? I just pull
Oh,
up
just any of them. I don't know if it's just like the size of your trading view on your monitor. It looks the cleanest when we share it. But one question I have for both of you would be, do you think if we're going to try to structure a pair trade here, you know, basically betting that Bitcoin dominance is going to trend up over the next short while, does it make sense to try to incorporate BNB in that at all? Because I'm looking at BNB and I can't help but think if there was ever a time for the king to fall, it would certainly be now. And you know, every once in a blue moon, the Bybit degens short into range lows and it works. And they've been shorting into range lows and they're up and they're winning. So I don't know. When they win big. You know, their win rate's like 10%, but their win is like a monster. And I'm looking at this, I'm thinking this kind of smells like FTT to me. It smells a lot like FTT to me.
Yeah.
And by the way, just to be clear, I'm not saying that Binance is going under like FTX is, okay? I'm talking structurally from an exchange token perspective. And even if it maybe it doesn't mean that Binance goes under. I'm not saying that. It's more just like if there was ever a time or a catalyst to fuel a further drop to fill in some high time frame inefficiencies from back in the bull market, I would want to say now would be that time.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely a dangerous one to take the other side of CZ for sure. But I mean, personally, I would wait. I mean, I guess these Bybit guys have been winning essentially since like what 300 per BNB, right? They've just been short the whole time.
Oh yeah, man, they've been just piling in.
They've been winning, but they've still been getting squeezed. They've
Yeah,
still
because I
been
was gonna say like we should maybe wait for them to get squeezed again, and I kind of like the like 260 level. I mean, unless we just keep going straight down, but I would kind of, if I was gonna incorporate BNB, I'd wait for them to get squeezed a little bit more.
Well,
Because
see
momentum
that's the way to do it. Is I wouldn't naked short BNB, but if I wanted to
yeah.
try to throw it in there, think Tucker, can you go to like the weekly for me or monthly or something like really high time frame outlook? It's like if we think that there's a chance that we could see BNB under 100, you don't have to throw on much size, and you could throw it in with a basket of other alts that you feel more confident in. Um, and you wouldn't need much to make a lot if we actually do get that breakdown to like 120 or 80 or whatever. You call it the target; it doesn't matter. I would never naked short BNB. That's I tried it one time. I didn't like it. It didn't go well for me. So, um, but it's like throwing it in with the basket. It's like maybe maybe you throw on a little size there.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I would definitely just wait for those guys to get squeezed a little bit. But like, yeah, I mean, if you get the range breakdown, you're probably going to like 138 at least, I would say. Or at least you take out this wicket like 180, but if you lose that, I expect like mid hundreds. Um,
if
but
it's gonna
yeah,
go, if it's gonna go, it's I don't think you're gonna get a chance to get on board. Looking at the April breakdown as a comparison, I think it's just gonna go.
where April what?
April
April,
2022.
April. Oh, here, yeah,
Because I mean that was technically a bear flag breakdown, kind of what BNB is painting right now, um, on a higher
yeah.
time frame. But
I mean, then you just have to ask yourself, like, where in this are we? Like, are we coming to the lows? Obviously, we haven't gotten like a huge wick like that, but I don't know. I mean, you could definitely incorporate it into a pair trade, but I wouldn't. It's hard for me to say that you should get short at 230. After seeing that, obviously, but
I mean, BNB was like the one token that's still out there that hasn't really capitulated. Like back in May of 2022, we saw just about everything, Ethereum included, capitulate and like really break that bull market structure. BNB is the only one that I found that actually didn't. You pick
yeah,
any alt across the board, BNB was the only one that still remained like, I don't know how else to describe it other than just like its bull market range. And
Mhm.
I mean, right now we're sitting at its bull market range low. BNB is basically sitting at the equivalent of like 28K Bitcoin, and it never went down to sub 17. Okay, so I'm just looking at it going like, if there was ever a time for BNB to like join the rest of the pack, and lose that bull market range low, yeah, exactly. Um, this is it. This is the fuel. I don't know what else it would be.
Yeah.
I don't
You
know
are
what else.
you are kind of at that must hold for sure. Go ahead, Tommy.
I was gonna say I don't know what else it would be either that would cause a breakdown if this does not. I am pretty vocal about I don't make a habit of shorting BNB just because you're trading. Yeah, I mean you're trading against somebody who holds so much of the supply, but part of a pair trade or like Bitcoin dominance trade, if you think Bitcoin dominance is going to break out, it makes sense that the third highest market cap coin that's not a stable coin would see significant bleed. I think that would make sense. But uh, with that said, also I think altcoins, if BNB is going to really break down, you're probably going to see that turmoil also play out in other altcoin markets as well. Especially because a lot of this capital in crypto it tends to be intertwined as we've come to to learn.
Yeah, I guess. Do you think there's any like edge or benefit to adding BNB to the BTC.D pair trade bucket versus some other altcoin? Like, at that point, would you just be betting on a breakdown of this range and like a real ugly price action? Like, you know what I'm saying?
I
Yeah,
Go ahead, Tommy.
probably. Yeah, no, probably. um I think I'd still rather take a bet on some other altcoins puking their guts out if BNB did something like that. But I think there's better rationale to add BNB to a Bitcoin dominance trade or to short BNB period than there has been, in a long time.
I absolutely agree with that. I think that I'm going to look to structure a pair trade here. I'm not in anything yet. Um, I'd like to just see a little squeeze across the board. I don't really care if alts lead it or not. I just want to see a little bit of like, I just want to see something, whether it's a whipsaw caused by CPI or FOMC. I want to just see something get cleaned up. But I do think if there was ever a time, it would be now. And you can also find a little bit of insulation, adding it to your basket. And at the same time, let's just say I have like a 2-to-1 pair trade where I've got, two, uh, you know, just say like I've got 2 units of altcoin shorts and 1 unit of Bitcoin short. Ideally that's probably, or I'm sorry, I'm Bitcoin long. That's probably how I'm going to structure it, or somewhere close. I'll be a little bit more aggressive with it. It won't be a 1-to-1. BNB of that, like the 2 unit basket of alt shorts, it'd probably only make up like a sixth of it. It'd be a very small amount because, like Tommy said, you are going up against the strongest man in crypto. I mean, that really is what it is, and he might be like boxing with one arm tied behind his back right now, but he's still deadly. And I don't want that to mess up the pair trade. Like it almost wouldn't surprise me to see like alts capitulating and BNB just like still miraculously holding up, and everyone's like, how is this possible? And CZ is literally just chatting it and like will not let it break down, and he could do that. Like he can do that. And don't fool yourself into thinking that like CZ is crippled, and you're gonna suddenly like pummel BNB. You're not. He's gonna pummel you. So if you get lucky and it works, it's gonna be a big trade. Um, and at the same time, I kind of view it the same way I would view like a meme coin on chain, where you don't put in, like, let's say your normal like nominal size for a perps trade is 100K. You'd maybe only throw like 5 or 10K at an on chain play, because you don't need that much to make a lot. So it's like if BNB does end up sliding, I think it's going to capitulate way harder than the rest of the alts, truthfully. Like if we lose this level, I think there is a non-zero chance that BNB goes to like $75, okay? And probably outperforms all the other alts in total three, just as a matter of like playing catch up, quote unquote, because it's still holding that like bull market range low, and it's the only one that has. So maybe it has some catching up to do. It's already down a bunch, relatively speaking, like within the past 2 weeks to 4 weeks. But if you look at it over the past 2 years, it's still up way too much compared to all the other alts. So I'd for sure try to incorporate it, and I will. Um, but I would never naked short it. But yeah, I do like it. Oh, look at that guy. Do you really want to fight him, man?
Oh,
Look at
Don't
that. Can,
fake.
can we put brass knuckles on his fingers right there?
Oh yeah.
We'll have
They're
Edward do
fixing
that.
AI.
we are getting into time here. If you guys had anything else that you wanted to get into before we wrap up, we can do that real quickly. Otherwise, we'll be back for market talk later this afternoon. Max, Tucker, you guys got anything here in parting?
Max, this is that other side of the fractal that we took from the July lows last year to the top. If we took that from FTX to up here, this is just the other side of it. So would imply a grind down to 21K. I'm more inclined to think that this will happen much faster, but
If that
that
happened, if that scenario happened, altcoins are going down 95% from here. If it takes
yeah,
that long and it just moves
yeah, that's
sideways.
November 23 would be the end of that. So
Wouldn't that be hilarious though if Bitcoin doesn't go on to like actually make new lows, and it basically bottoms and maybe just goes back to retest like 20K,
yeah,
and it takes a long time, dude. Bitcoin moving sideways underneath the 20-week moving average, or like one of those higher time frame moving averages, sitting on a cliff, alts are gonna just die, man. Oh, that would be so
this
painful to
is
watch.
max pain. Yeah, this is max
That is
pain.
definitely Max Payne.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But max pain for the alt holders. It's like
Yes.
that
Yeah.
meme. It's like call the ambulance, but not for me. Yeah, that's all I got, guys. That's all I got.
Tucker, you got anything?
No, I mean, I think, I guess we didn't really touch a whole lot on equities and CPI. Like, the only thing I'll say is I still want to find a pullback somewhere in some small caps to get long before CPI. We're not really getting it today, which is unfortunate. So TBD on what to do there, but I think most of the risk is probably right tail in equities right now. Like, I don't think, given the events this week, there's a whole lot of downside risk. Unless we just get like a crazy hot print and Powell hikes, like that would really be the only scenario in which I'd think we'd see some significant equity downside. But I mean, I don't think we're gonna get a hot print. I think we're gonna get a soft print, which is pretty clear. And I think if we do, then he'll probably skip or pause, which I think if he skips, it's really a pause anyways, and most people think that. So I think those things are short term, neutral to bullish catalyst for equities. So I don't think there's a whole lot of downside risk beyond Monday, Tuesday this week. So that's what I'm thinking there. But yeah, no, that's all I got.
Right. Thanks, Tucker. Yeah, no, we've got a lot going on this week, in my opinion. Other than FOMC, in my opinion, we have a lot going on, just because I feel like we're going to get some resolution to how speculative markets within crypto are going to be reacting over the next few weeks and months. Potentially some really great trades through the intra-week volatility. Obviously through FOMC. Do we get a pause? Do we get no pause? A lot to get cleaned up, but should provide us with some great opportunities. We're going to be breaking down more of our trades and how we continue to see the market as the week goes on, guys. But yeah, no, I'm excited. I feel like, at least in crypto, I've talked a lot about how volatility is reaching historically low levels, and I feel like we're getting close to a point where we're going to see resolution to that, at least for the next few weeks, next few months. So yeah, no, we hope you guys enjoyed the show. Make sure you guys follow our Twitter and join our Discord if you haven't already. We have links to all of our premium services linked in the bio of our Twitter. But yeah, we hope you guys enjoyed the show. Like I said, thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we'll be back tomorrow.